Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the AI Interconnect podcast, where we go behind the scene with founders, operators, and innovators shaping the future of PropTech, AI, and digital transformation across real estate and beyond. I'm your host, Lauren, and today's guest is someone who truly understands what it means to solve real operational problem in real estate. Sebastian Gomez, CEO and co-founder of PropSource. At the time when real estate operators are buried under vendor chaos, PropSource is bringing clarity and automation to the table. And Sebastian's journey as a founder is just as impressive as a tech is building. Sebastian, great to have you here.
Hello, Lauren.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
Fantastic, fantastic. It's going to be a great conversation, and let's let's begin and rewind a bit before PropSource. Sebastian, what shaped your path as a founder, and what were the early experiences or light bulb moments that led you into PropTech?
Yeah, sure. So I've been an entrepreneur since my 20s. Since I can remember, I've done more than 15 startups. I always try to uh, put technology in those startups, even though they were from an industry that was very hands-on. So just from the beginning, I started to scale my ventures through technology. Of course, I had some failures and some successful exits. I'm from Argentina originally, and I moved to the States 11 years ago. I've never done anything in real estate before, but in 2015, I started investing in properties as a side hustle. I was working on another project, and as a side hustle, I started investing in some single family homes around my place where I lived. And I started realizing a lot of things. First, that it was a great business, it was super profitable. And the second thing is that it was it was a very hands-on kind of business, but it can be scaled. So I focus on learning and how to scale as this kind of business that was very easy to do when you are close to the project, and when you're doing one or two per year. You can drive by any day. You can talk to the GCs on a regular basis. But the challenge was, how can I do this on a larger scale where I cannot drive by every day? I cannot talk to every GC every day. So that's when everything came to like to reality. In okay, I can merge the technology that I've been building, and the concept of technology that I have with the real estate, and try to scale this kind of business. And if I can keep it as profitable as the first couple of projects, this is a real business. This is a real company. So just from the beginning in 2015, 16, and 17, I started doing more and more projects, but trying to learn about the process, knowledge, and what is the technology that I needed to scale this up. And long story short, now we're doing over 100 projects per year in 8 cities in 4 states. We have teams in each city, and we analyze around 100 properties per day on a regular basis. And
Wow.
yeah, just to identify which one is the right one for that week for us. So what we did is we determine a buy box, what we need to buy, and we applied that buy box to hundreds of properties coming in every day. Deals that are there around there, trying to get sold. We put all those deals through our funnel, and then we make a decision in 5 to 10 minutes, sight unseen, but between 5 to 10 minutes, we can decide if a property makes sense for us or not. And then once the property is acquired, it goes through the funnel, GC selection, photo storage, permit tracking, GC draws, everything that needs to be accounted for a project. We put that in the technology. So we build our own platform, and that platform helps us from end to end, since the acquisitions to the sale. And that has been a challenge that we built that platform for since 2018 all the way to 2021, 22, and then last year we decided. Actually, we asked ourselves, wait, if we build this for us and it's helping us to identify the correct project, the correct home, and then guide us through all the way, maybe this can be helpful for other investors. So we decided to launch PropSource, and PropSource is a platform that basically enables other investors in other cities to use our technology, our process, and our knowledge to make decisions the same way we are doing in our cities.
That's unbelievable. Then 100 property a day, 100 projects. That's impressive. Then yes, let's talk a little bit about PropSource. I have to choose one of your businesses. We cannot talk about everything.
Yes.
We'll do other podcasts for the others project maybe, but because you didn't just build software, you build a solution to a very real operational headache. And what was the core problem you were trying to fix at the origin?
That's a good question. So basically, when you do one project, any investor that is doing one or two projects, you don't need any software, you don't need any fancy solution. You can just do it with an Excel sheet, honestly. So the problem that we had is that when we were trying to scale, Excel sheet doesn't work any longer. I mean, you cannot even manage 10 projects at a time with an Excel sheet if you're talking that one project is in Nashville, the other one is Atlanta, the other one is in Miami. So how you do that? So it was basically born out of necessity. We needed a software to help us manage that. I give you an example. I think it was in 2017 or 18. We were selling a project, and you know what staging is, right? When you stage a home. Well, so we were doing Excel sheets in 2017, and someone deleted something in the Excel sheet, and we completely forgot about this staging. So we never took the staging out of the home, and we sold the property, and we closed on the property, and the new buyer was moving in, and they found all the property staged, and we said, "Wow, that this cannot happen again." Of course, we sent a truck right away. We paid for everything. We took everything away, but it cost us a fortune, and the experience for the buyer was not nice. So we said, okay, these things cannot happen. And when you think about it, there's so many little things like this example that cost you a lot of money, and they give the user, the buyer or the GC, a horrible experience. So you need to streamline a lot of little things in a project to make it successful, profitable, and a good experience for everyone. So that's when we said, okay, this cannot happen again. If we are selling 15, 20 properties at the same time, and we have 15 properties in the pipeline of closings, titles, lien search, inspections, appraisals, destaging, we need a software that tell us you need to destage this property ASAP because the closing is in 3 days. So that was like the lightning moment where we said, okay, let's get rid of the Excel sheets and let's start working on a solution that let the regional manager in that area knows that you need to call the staging company to this stage. And we have hundreds of those examples where if you overpay a GC, most probably they will be working slower. If you select the wrong material, you will have a buyer that is not completely satisfied with the color or the quality. If you don't pull permits, you might get a red flag, red tag. So many things, the little things that we needed to put into the software that we said this cannot be managed by the Excel sheet anymore. And
Yeah.
yeah, that was the situation.
No, that's sounds obvious, but you're completely right. We always start with the bare minimum, and we added stuff after by experiencing failure or challenges uh, going forward. And but you started PropSource for your own enterprises to begin with, and you went by selling it after that. I mean, or renting it, or it's a SaaS, no? I guess it's
Yes.
like a then then what do you see happening uh, in the market that others missed? Basically, going through your
Mhm.
experience.
Well, when we started thinking about PropSource, the first thing that we did is we start interviewing investors all over United States. We got connected with more than 40. I think that we are over 50 small and medium-sized investors that are looking to scale their operations, and we asked what were the major pain points that they have. Why wouldn't they scale from 5 properties per year to 10, or from 10 to 20, or from 15 to 30? And 95% of the responses were based on two different things, only two. And that were lack of deals. So deal sourcing, what we call deal sourcing, they
Yeah.
couldn't find good deals over there. That was not surprise because we have we feel the same pain. It's very hard to find the correct one. And the second thing was affordable financing. There's a lot of financing options in the US. Fortunately, there's a lot. But for a small and medium-sized investors, most of those solutions are not affordable or convenient, I will say. So they're not cheap, the interest rate is high, and it's a hassle how to have to apply for this kind of investment property. And it's not the same as a homestead. You're not going to live there. You're not going to hold the property for 10 years or 15 years. Your kids are not going to be raised in that home. It's an investment property. So we said, okay, if we build in the past a solution for us to acquire properties in our cities on a steady flow, and we figure out how to fund these solutions, these projects, with capital, we started focusing on these two items for other people, other investors. So the first thing that we are offering with PropSource is lead generation or lead sourcing, and convenient financing. I think that if any investor can solve these two problems, you are 80% out of the game. Yeah, you're like, you just need to solve little things that are not minor. So selecting a GC is important, pulling permits is important, knowing how to sell is important, but the most important things are deal sourcing and leveraging or financing. So we started working on those two aspects, and we are trying to deliver our affiliates, we call them affiliates, these two solutions. And so we're in a beta phase. We are testing. We're supposed to launch in May or June the final version, but Now what we're doing is we are analyzing around 100 deals per day in multiple cities, and we build a funnel that with AI enables us to get very smart on the ones that make sense and get rid of those that don't make sense pretty fast and automatically. So for us, an analyst that we have analysts in our team, they can focus on the real ones instead of losing time analyzing a property that maybe you spend 10 minutes and then realizing that it's in a flood zone, and we don't buy in flood zone. So we are getting very smart in how to focus on the deals that really make sense for us and for our affiliates, and double click on those and spend the 5 to 10 minutes on those deals, and not spend 5 to 10 minutes on deals that at the end you realize that they don't make sense. So AI is working pretty good for us in that sense. But again, I think that for our affiliates, what they are, at least the feedback that we're having is that the experience that we build through the years, 10 or 11 years, buying and analyzing properties is really helping them to focus on local things, local experience, GC connections, and let us find the properties that they really need.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. That's very insightful. Um, but I guess sourcing or scouting or sourcing these new deals uh, for for your client, for the SaaS clients, take deal away from you. You're fishing for the same deals, no? You're looking for the. Uh, I mean, if it's the same location, the same market, like South Florida, for example, um, as you say, maybe there's hundreds of deals, but very few are a very good one. And then are you partnership with your own clients, or you just give them the opportunity?
No, what we're actually doing is we build a gateway. It's like a portal where they access and they see the deals that we selected for them. And we are looking for design partners in other cities. So we don't compete.
Okay.
If we don't have a team in Dallas, we have affiliates in Dallas. So the deals are strictly for those 2 or 3 affiliates that we have in Dallas, and we can present those deals to those 2 or 3 affiliates, and they can decide who wants it. So we are not competing against the affiliates. Actually, we are using to retro feedback, and their experience might work for our cities, and our experience in our cities can work for them. So yeah, no, we are building like very small marketplaces in each city with just a handful of affiliates, and we are not there.
Okay. No, that makes sense then. I understand now.
Yeah.
Uh, Great. Let's let's zoom out a little
Yeah.
bit. And what macro trend are you seeing in prop tech or real estate operation that founders and operators should be paying attention to right now? And are workflow changing? Are expectation for a property owner or tenant are shifting?
Mm-hmm.
That's my
So
question.
in Proptech in general, I think that we're in a changing cycle. We are going from innovation. The first 10 years from 2015 to 2025, I think we saw an innovation cycle where a lot of new companies emerge, and PropTech was being born, and you saw a lot of opportunities there. The PropTech market was flooded with a lot of entrepreneurs. VCs were super interested in these solutions. I think that we are in a verge of transitioning into a consolidation phase where the big players are starting to acquire smaller players, and VC are getting more selective, and Proptech companies that has stronger traction and are having most results. But I think that I don't think we are over there, but I think we're transitioning into a phase where you need to pay attention about the consolidation, acquisitions, and mergers that are going on, and they already started. Redfin, Zillow, they are merging and acquire smaller companies, and I think that's going to continue. You see a lot of name changes and companies that are merging with others. So that is the first indication that maybe the innovation and exploration phase is ending and we are heading into a new one. So that means that for new startups, maybe you need to think about that, because the big players are really having a lot of traction with AI and innovation. So you don't want to compete with them. You want to provide service that maybe works for them in the back end to solve some issues that they might have, to get rid of friction in the process. So when the cycles change, I think that entrepreneurs and Proptech ventures need to pay attention to that, and the way of innovating might change as well. So I see that. I think the cycle is important. And again, AI is changing everything in every aspect. So it might change the cycles here. Maybe we will see maybe a little bit of extension on the exploration and innovation, because maybe a small startup can figure something out with AI that a big tech missed. So AI might change a little bit this transition, but I'm pretty sure we are in a transition phase here.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. I love it. It's that's very right. The transition phase, I think, helped by AI, because I mean, as we talk about AI and nonstop, but basically AI is here for some time already, but people are not using it correctly, or this is just the premise of it, and it's going to disrupt the market very deeply. Where do you think PropTech still lags behind? And I mean, maybe we answered it already. Maybe that's AI, basically. But do you have any other opinion?
I think PropTech. So the underlying industry is real estate, of course, right? And real estate, I think technology came late to real estate. Technology impacted other industries much sooner, and we started seeing technology solution applied to real estate in the last 10 years. I know that there have been some exceptions 15 years ago. I know that, but on a mass scale, I think we saw the Zillows and the Redfins and the Open Doors and the big players really in the last 10 years. And of course, GPS technology enables a lot of things. Satellite images enables a lot of things that we didn't have that access 15 years ago. So it made sense when you look back why technology took so long to impact the real estate. So that makes us the real estate industry a little bit behind other industries in terms of technology advance. On one side, it's an opportunity because everything is out there to do, but on the other side, things are moving so fast that I see new technology, new Proptech companies emerge like every month, and with good solutions. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a chaotic
Yeah.
time, and again, I think that we are in the end of the cycle. So you think, okay, if you build, you're not going to compete against the silos and the open doors and the Redfins and the and I don't know, CoreLogic. They have the data, they have the volume, they have the AI budgets that it's super expensive. So unless you are building something very niche or very good on the back end, as I said, that you may solve the big ones problems, I think there's a lot of noise out there right now with AI and everything that is happening in PropTech. So um,
That's
so I
right.
don't know. It's not easy. We are in very interesting phase, and real estate is not in the best era right now. Not PropTech, real estate in general. The interest rates are so
Yeah.
high, the volume is so low that the transactions are not really there. Some real estate traditional companies, brokers, are not investing a lot. They're just trying to survive. They're just trying to make their ends meet. And so I think that is, if you're a startup, you have to be very careful on what you're providing, what kind of service, who's your client, and maybe if you're trying to build something similar to the big players, maybe it's a smart uh, decision to wait or to do it with enough capital so you don't need to go out to the market and beg for money to keep on scaling. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely a challenging time.
No, definitely. It's what we say on the market or the stock market or the financial markets is uncertainty is never good. And I think we are in a big time of uncertainty um, in the US
Yeah.
and worldwide because the US is leading everything. Um, I mean, it's a good point, and for me to jump into challenges. And every funder I talk to has a version of the messy middle. And what has been some of the hardest moments building PropSource for you?
So I feel that we started PropSource last year. We were like 10 months away
Or
from
maybe it was not so hard since
well,
then.
we have a big challenge, and I guess that every tech solution go through this process is that we're in the product market fit. So we're building a software and a solution that is based on our experience on 10 years doing this on a massive scale, and also of based on more than 50 interviews that we did. But you're never sure about product market fit until you launch. So we are in that phase where we're just before launching, a few weeks away, and you just wonder if everything that you built and all the testing that you've been doing and all the interviews that you've been doing are really gonna be getting traction. So the challenge for us as a company is really nail that product market fit with the correct pricing, with the correct solution, with the correct UX UI on the platform, navigational wise. And so there's so many components when you launch that you really focus on working double the hard that we were working last year, making sure that when we launch everything works. And
Of course.
so yeah, we're in
Of
that
course.
stage, and I've been there before with other projects, and it's always stressful. So
You're doing good. Um, okay, bravo. It's just the beginning anyway. Then of course, you'll go through different challenges and pain points
Hmm.
uh, inside your business. Um, um, then um, let's talk about the intersection of AI and real estates. Um, where do you see AI playing a meaningful role for operators or vendors in the next 12 to 24 months?
So, as I said before, I think that the big players have their big data, their big budgets, and they will be innovating. We will see solutions come out of there much frequently than small companies or new ventures. Um, there's a lot of things coming up in fintech, climate tech,
Yeah,
lending, underwriting, property inspections. Wow, it's so nice to see everything going on. Um, so I think that we have to pay attention on the big players, what kind of tools that they're releasing, what are they doing, and most probably they are not solving everything at the same time. So as a startup, I think you have to pay attention on what they are missing and what things that AI can release tension or friction on their backends. These guys are growing so fast and big that mm, they cannot solve every problem. So maybe instead of focusing on a fancy website that offers realtors a good way of analyzing whatever candidates, a CRM, it's basically understanding what the big guys are doing, what are they using AI for, and how to release some tension from them. And even though it's on the lending part, on the underwriting part, on the selling part, on the lead generation part, on the I don't know financial part, if you unless you have a niche product or a niche idea, I think most of the big players are covering all of that. And again, AI is very expensive. So building something from scratch, like an agent or a machine learning model, you need to be pretty well funded.
yeah.
And and I hate I
The,
hate seeing things are dying at halfway. So so it's kind of the same thing that we saw in the internet back in the days, where you saw a lot of companies popping up at the same time, good ideas, and then a consolidation phase where only the best, only the ones that have more traction, or only the ones that have more revenues or even more profit, but basically the biggest ones were acquired or merged with other ones. So I will say that we are, at least we are paying a lot of attention over there, trying not to solve fancy websites and instead going into what does the market or the players need, what is the solution that is out there that is being needed, and how can you apply AI to solve those things, even though maybe a little thing like um, I don't know, property appraisals now are being done manually, and there's a lot of companies that are starting to solve that problem with a better appraisals using technology, and property inspections the same way with property inspections, the same way with financing, tokenization, fractional financing. There's a lot of really cool
yeah.
solutions there that maybe are not fancy. Maybe someone that is surfing through Zillow will never learn about that. But those guys are really disrupting the industry for the lenders, for the underwriters, for the the inspectors, for everyone in the backend.
That's Yeah, that's correct. That's very interesting. Um, then you were talking about all these uh, fintech, all these something tech
Yeah.
that you are gathering under the same under your platform, maybe, or trying um, to have all these
Hmm.
sectors into the same platform. Are you exploring also to integrate automation and predictive workflows into your platform?
Yes, we already started last year, and honestly, I think that that is the biggest challenge for PropTech. How to integrate AI in your workflow and really make sense, and not using AI to, I don't know, write a better
Yeah.
script.
Email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you put it in the workflow, that's when things make a difference. For us, in our example, we are building a machine learning model that, as I said before, we are teaching that learning model to understand where are the key parameters of a deal. When you receive a deal, you have a lot of information, like hundreds of data points. So we need to identify the most important data points, extract them, we send it into a CRM. The CRM captures those data, asks the analyst, a human person, to just double check and verify those data. And if there's a mistake, the workflow goes backwards and teach the machine learning model, hey, you send me the, I don't know, you send me the ARV, and you really were talking about the asking price. So we're going back and forth with the AI, and then the CRM connects to public records, to FEMA, and to other different endpoints to get automated data. So by the time the analyst sits down to really analyze a property, a lot of work has been done, a lot of work automatically. AI selecting the correct data points, send it to the CRM connecting to FEMA, connecting to public records. So by the time you're trying to figure out, okay, does this deal make sense from an ROI point of view, from a profit point of view, from a turnaround, all the other noise has already been taken care. And that's a lot of time. When you're analyzing 100 properties per day, that's a lot of time saved for an analyst and for our funnel. But yeah, AI into workflows is key now for
Okay.
PropTech, for any PropTech.
Of course. Very well answered. Um, Looking forward, looking ahead,
Yeah.
um, what's your vision for PropSource um, or any of your enterprise over the next phase of growth? And are there any specific product expansion, market expansion, or customer type that you are targeting?
So for the next couple of years, we are launching this solution, then scale. We are going. We're trying to hit 50 markets by the end of this year. So 50 cities that are not our cities, where we can find affiliates interested in our deals and in our funding. And then the second phase next year will be um, extend the solution into the other 20% that I mentioned at the beginning, where GC selection, photo storage, draws, material decisions, timing, permits, all that. That is a lot of information, but
That's a lot.
for the first phase, we're letting that being decided and managed by the affiliate with their knowledge and their local expertise. We want to get a foot into that as well. And of course, we want to add a lot of services on top of that, like insurance, like title, underwriting. There's a lot of things that for now we want to focus on the main two aspects or the pain points that they're telling us, but there's a long tail to cover after that. And in terms of the industry in general, I keep thinking that if we are going to have the Waymos and the Tesla driving our cars, and maybe in 5 years, as Elon Musk said, 90% of the miles will be autonomous, nobody will own a car, right? Maybe we don't need even the driver license. Nobody's going to drive. Why aren't we thinking about PropTech the same way? What is going to look like the new ecosystem in PropTech? Maybe the next generation is going to live in houses just for a short term, and when they're bored or they want to change scenery, or maybe they change jobs, why is it just a hassle to sell your property, find out a new one, converge the two closings so you don't have money in the middle and you don't have to rent? I saw a few solutions for that, but of course, if you look 10 years ahead, I don't know how the market will look like. Maybe nobody's going to own a house the same way nobody's going to own a car. Maybe you
Nobody
can move.
knows. Nobody knows.
Yeah, nobody knows, but for sure things are moving faster and AI is hitting all the right spots. So maybe we need to start thinking about how that scenario is going to look in 10 years, and it might be completely different. Actually, I saw a report last week that for the first time after I think 40 years, we started building smaller house. In US has been building biggest and biggest houses for the last 40 years. So more
I
square
know.
footage is being added, and for the first time, we are going down in square footage, and that has a reason. Houses are very expensive. The new generation is struggling to get a new house, so maybe the solution is cut a couple of 100 square feet, and voila, you have a cheaper home. Why not?
So many parameters, so many different things. You're right, or maybe the family are getting smaller.
Also, yeah,
Maybe they're not getting married anymore. There are no children anymore.
yeah,
Okay, that's not.
yeah.
But no, definitely there is so many uh, pinpoints or pinpoints that we need to consider, and but it's a good thing about opportunities. We're looking for the next big opportunity, the next big trend, and uh, we are curious. We're trying to create. Um, you're innovating with your platform. That's wonderful, and I really appreciate all your insight. Let's close with a few uh, quick questions.
Sure.
Very, very. The response should be very quick. Like a prop tech company you respect right now.
Core logic.
Okay. A tool or workflow you swear by.
A workflow.
Yeah, or a tool, AI tool or workflow that you will swear by that you cannot live without.
Oh, wow.
It's okay.
Um, we use a lot of tools to scout properties.
Okay.
Yeah, to analyze properties, but
Okay. Okay.
a very simple one. Google Street.
Yeah. Yeah.
Google Street. We cannot do
Of
the same
course.
work without Google Street.
That's true. That's true. Perfect. Wonderful. Um, the most underrated skill for a founder.
The most uh, um,
Underrated.
Okay.
skill?
Resiliency.
Okay. And lastly, what's one thing you wish more people understood about building in PropTech?
Mm. Uh, not copying fancy websites that are super cool and big, and focus on the
Makes
back
sense.
end. There's more value on the back end.
That's wonderful. I love it. Um, Sebastian, I think this was top tier. Uh, Thanks for being so open and tactical with your insight today. If someone wants to follow you or what you're building or connect with PropSource, where should they go?
My LinkedIn, you can find me on LinkedIn, Sebastian Gomez from Miami. I know that with that name, there's a lot of similar characters, but yeah, Sebastian Gomez in Miami, LinkedIn. I try to post reports, market trends over there. Anyone can follow me there. And PropSource is also in LinkedIn. Equity 305 is our fix and flip fund. So yeah, LinkedIn is the best place.
Fantastic. I will try to put some notes into the videos and to get to know to get
Yeah.
to you faster. Thanks again for being a part of the AI Interconnect family, and excited to watch where you take PropSource from here. And until next time, for all of the listeners, stay hungry, stay foolish, and hasta la próxima.
Thank you, Lauren.
Muchas gracias. Merci. Thank you, Hugo.
Merci. Merci.
Thank